All right, let's call the meeting to order, please. We're a little late, but we've got a short agenda, so we'll fly through it. If everybody would please stand, move your hats, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? No. All right. Would anybody care to make a motion regarding the minutes of April 7th?
I make a motion we approve the minutes of April 7th.
Seconded.
Motion been approved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? And this is where I'm supposed to remind everybody. No, it's where I'm supposed to remember about the abstention. Never mind. I'm having a rough day. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Report for the board chair. I have nothing. Report for the superintendent.
Okay, a couple of things. I'm happy to pass along that the Prospect Harbor United Methodist Church contacted Principal Chris Beals from Peninsula and asked about ways that they can support the school. As a result, they have decided to donate $1,000 to Peninsula to help extend the fresh fruit and vegetable snack program until the end of the school year, which is good because they were out of money. So thank you very much to the Prospect Harbor United Methodist Church. A few weeks ago, Shelley Shildroth applied for a Title I summer grant. I'm pleased to inform you that we found out that we were awarded $74,896 for our summer school programming. This is separate from our Title I money programming and had to be applied for separately. We will use this money to fund wages and benefits at each of our 5 buildings, to bring in the main outdoor school, to visit each one of our elementary schools on a weekly basis, books and supplies, and pay for bus fuel. This is important additional funding as it allows us to keep our Title I funding that we set aside for summer school and use it on salaries for our interventionist teachers, further supporting our local budget. As a part of our 21st Century Grant commitment, we are required to provide summer programming to our students for 6 weeks, 5 days a week for 4 hours. Our Title Grant pays for the Summer Academy programming, and the 21st Century Grant provides afternoon camps at the YMCA and EDGE for many of the students who attend. Summer Academy is a great opportunity for our students to improve or maintain their skills in reading and math. Students really enjoy the Summer Academy. We have weekly themes and guests who come in to build knowledge and excitement, like the Inter-Simeon Touch Tank and Acadia National Park, for example. We also provide students with breakfast and lunch, which is another important aspect of the program. In front of you, you do have the curriculum update, which Shelley puts out on a monthly basis, and I will say I very much appreciate that she celebrates the good things that are going on in the district, so thank you, Shelley. Board members, you do have the third quarter data in front of you in regards to my goals that we set for the year, and we'll talk about those in July. I just wanted to pass along since I did receive it. And I also have here, I did receive notice from our attorney, Jack Bolachi, that there will be an oral argument hearing for our lawsuit with the Maine Human Rights Commission on May 21st at 9 a.m. at the 1 Court Street in Augusta, Kennebec Superior Court, and I do plan to attend that, and we'll report back. My understanding is that the judge asked the attorney questions, and that's the extent of it, so I'll report back anything I'm able to from that hearing, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Time for public comment. I don't know if anybody has signed up or not. Thank you very much. First up, Tammy Taylor. Remind everybody again, another thing, I've been negligent of a reminder about 3-minute time limit and a reminder to keep your remarks my brain is not functioning here. Keep your remarks appropriate and don't be mean.
What was the last one?
Go ahead.
I just want one thing to say is, I don't know if anybody else in the room noticed, but at the last meeting, you guys approved the Title IX wording, and the wording that went in from the second read was different than the wording that came out, and that's against Robert's rules. So I just wanted to point that out so that everybody in the room knew that. That's it.
Okay, next up, Crystal Burke.
Hi there, guys. Just to be that friendly school board reminder of what our obligations are. I know you guys are working on finalizing your budget and presenting it to all your towns coming up. The policies you've passed have changed what your budget needs will be. You are obligated as a school board to make sure you cover all foreseeable consequences of your actions. So if you passed an insurance change that meant your insurance costs go up, like say your legal insurance, you have to cover for that additional cost of taking on your insurance for the next year. Sorry, I feel like crap today, so I'm like struggling just to stay upright. The other thing you need to do is make sure that when you run into lawsuits because of, say, like an ADA violation, like you have a male student who the only one-on-one aide you have is a female aide, and she needs to go into the bathroom with him to help him use the facilities, whichever way they decide to make that happen, you now have that against your policy. So you now have an ADA violation and a potential lawsuit there. I don't know that you have any students that are going to run into that problem, but this is something that you've got to figure out when you figure out how to uphold this policy. Because if you have a disabled student who needs to use the restroom and the only aide is someone of the opposite sex, you've now said that no one can help that kid use the bathroom. And if he has to sit in a diaper all day, that is, it's going to be a problem for you guys. You have to consider all of this. The other thing is, like she said with executive session, you cannot make a motion in executive session. You cannot take a vote in executive session. Whatever you discuss is supposed to be guidance. If you're going for legal counsel, where you listen to them, you can ask clarifying questions. You can't change your policy. So the policy that came from policy committee to come to the school board, you can discuss it. You can discuss it in public, because that's the whole point of having a school board, is that you do it in public. You show the public what you're thinking and why you're thinking it, so that they can understand the reasoning for your votes and why you're doing what you say you're doing. If you're not doing it in public, you are hiding things, which is not, you're not allowed to do any of that. So when you change your policies in executive sessions, you're in violation of all of your oaths and obligations. You cannot pass on second read something that has changed substantially. You have to take it back to first read and start over again. Like, there's a lot of steps you guys are screwing up, and I'm not sure how much of it is incompetence and how much of it is willful. But be careful, guys, because your public has to pay for the consequences of your actions. And it's just really disappointing to see somebody who should be in high stature, that all of your students are looking to, fail them this magnificently. And as far as I can tell, it's for political gain. And the kids don't deserve that. So be cautious. Do better.
Okay. Business item A, budget warrant articles. And the vote to call and approve the warrants for the budget meeting, the budget validation referendum, and to authorize the notice of amounts adopted.
I move that the vote entitled "Vote to Call and Approve the Warrants for the Budget Meeting and the Budget Validation Referendum, and to authorize the notice of amounts adopted be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included with the minutes of this meeting." That the warrant for the RSU24, the Regional School Unit Budget Meeting presented to the meeting be approved, and that a Regional School Unit Budget Meeting be called for May 27th, 2026 for the purpose of voting on the annual budget for the Regional School Unit for the 2026-2027 fiscal year. that the warrant and notice of election for the regional school unit budget validation referendum presented to the meeting be approved, and that a regional school unit budget validation referendum be called for June 9th, 2026, for the purpose of approving the budget adopted at the regional school unit budget meeting for the 2026-2027 fiscal year, and that the form of notice amounts adopted at budget meeting presented to this meeting be approved, and that the superintendent of schools of the regional school unit be authorized and directed to complete said notice in accordance with the regional school unit budget meeting on May 27th, 2026, and to cause copies of said notice as completed to be delivered to the municipal clerks for each municipality of the regional school unit for posting at the polling places for the June 9th, 2026 regional school unit budget validation referendum.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstentions? Okay, the motion carries, which means now we've got some paperwork to sign. And, yeah, and we're just gonna, now, in years past, we used to have to sign 120 pieces of paper, and that would have caused an undue disruption in the meeting. So thankfully, the law has changed. We have to sign, a total of 9 pieces of paper, I think, or 10 or whatever. So we're gonna pause the meeting, take care of that so Melinda can go home, and then we'll carry on. Thank you, Melinda. All right, moving on. Item B, Franklin School Choice Grade Clarification.
That's me. So, in the organizational plan, it calls for, my apologies, let's do 2 things at once. There we go. On page 18 of the reorganization plan, it says that Franklin has K-8 choice with tuition paid up to the state approved rate for Mountain View School. And so I have a request from a parent from Franklin to have their child go to a different school district for their pre-K student. And before I took any action, I wanted clarification from the board if in fact you wanted to approve pre-K like you approved the K-8. I did do some research because I had a conversation with Carla, and I talked with Paula Gravel today from Maine DOE. And for each one of our pre-K students, we get up about $15,000, maybe a little bit more through the model. And then tuition for the school that this individual is looking at is $13,000. And so there's not necessarily a loss, if you will, if we were to go about doing this, but I didn't want to act on it unless the board voted to support it or not support it for that matter. So I would turn it over to the board.
Thoughts? Anyone?
So I had a conversation with 2 previous school board members from Franklin to get some backstory on why we have school choice. And I'm sure you were a part of it, so you know the story. And I just wanted to get clarification at the time. In 1985, Franklin had school K through 8. And when we consolidated with Scudic, I think it was called
It was,
CSD.
Franklin had been a part of what was then Scudic CSD,
Correct.
which was the towns of Franklin, Sullivan, Serena. They jointly, they formed the district and built the Mountain View School.
Correct.
And in 1985, Franklin, and I was 14, so I don't know the reasons exactly, but they decided to withdraw from Scudic CSD. They continued to tuition their students to Mountain View School. They just were no longer, they no longer had a voice on the board, and they weren't part of they didn't get an assessment the way we do for budget, they just went tuition. And when RSUs came into being, part of the law was that any school district, Franklin was a district of its own at that time, that had school choice would continue to have school choice in perpetuity. At the time, that was only K-12. There was no such thing as a pre-K in any of the schools, which is why it's not part of the document.
So in my investigation, I've reached out to Maine School Management Association and got their take, also speaking with previous school board members in Franklin. And I want to do a little bit more research, so I'd like to make a motion to table this until the next board meeting, until I reach out to a few other people, because pre-K right now is not that it's not necessary, but it's not required. So it's not mandatory yet until 2028. So I just want to make sure I'm covering all of my bases, because we're in cohort 3, I believe. So we do offer pre-K at all of the schools next year, but according to this charter, pre-K is not listed. So I want to make sure I'm covering all my bases. One of the persons that I spoke with mentioned that it might have to go through legislation to include pre-K onto the charter itself. So I just want to make sure before we take action on this item that we're covering all of our bases, and I've got a little bit more time to investigate the charter itself, the pre-K requirements for the state of Maine, and so on and so forth. So I'm just asking for a motion to table it at this time and bring it back up in June.
So you made a motion to table. Sorry, you've made a motion to table. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
And is there any discussion on this?
I do have some questions. So with the charter, like, because I don't really understand how to form, are those an agreement that the board makes with the towns, or are those legal? Like, how does that work?
It's an interest, if you don't mind, if I try this. It's an interesting question with regard to the specific thing, but in general, any change to the reorganization plan, which is, we're calling it a charter, it is the governing document of the formation of RSU24. My understanding, and it certainly would be worth asking legal counsel, is that any change to that document requires either a motion from the school board to form a committee to discuss the change, or a petition from the public that would have, see if I can have this right. I think the petition requires 10% of the signatures of the number of people that voted in the last gubernatorial election. So if we said, for example, out of our 7,700 residents, if we have 4,000 registered voters and 3,000 voted, then you'd have to have 300 signatures. That would be coming from the community. The board can decide on their own.
So would it be, because like, this is Franklin, right?
Yep.
It's not the only one of our towns that has school choice, but would it be Franklin residents only, or would it be the entire district that they would have to get signatures from because it's RSU?
No, it would be the entire district, but Franklin is the only, they're not the only school in our district, because Eastbrook, Waltham, and Mariahville kids. No, did Eastbrook and Mariahville, you don't have K-8 school choice, right?
And don't we,
Well,
yeah,
Mariahville
say
does,
don't
is
our
that
different
correct?
towns have different agreements for what grades get school choice, and
It's what's in the plan.
every town negotiated that?
Now, when it came about by law, they didn't negotiate it.
Okay.
The law, because Franklin had it, and Eastbrook, Waltham, Mariahville, for example, had 9-12 choice. It was cut and dried. They had it. Go ahead, Carla.
So just a quick question, because on my notes from the budget meeting, I showed that Mariahville K through 12 had school choice. Is that correct? Because on this charter, on the school choice, I show it's high school only.
Yeah, I agree with that. Since I've been superintendent, and actually I think before we've negotiated with Beach Hill School Department, But they haven't required that all of our Morineville students go to Beach Hill. If they do go to Beach Hill, that's when the agreement kicks in. And so we do have some Morineville kids that are K-8 that go in. But I'm just looking, you're right. It is just listed for Morineville as high school choice for tuition.
There is a reason for that, though. And it's because when we formed the plan, I don't know if I would say the assumption, the thought was that that school, Otis and Mariahville, would be within the RSU, in which case there would have been no change, right? But because Otis voted not to join the RSU, then that district that would have come as a whole was torn apart, which then left the Mariahville kids in limbo. We could have forced them to come to an RSU24 school, like at the time would have been EEM, Ellsworth Elementary Middle School. But there was considerable debate about whether we should do that or not, and ultimately the board at the time decided that since those students had been attending that school all along, and it wasn't the student's fault or the town's fault that it ended up that way, that we would not penalize them. We would continue to allow those students to attend the Beach Hill School, and we would pay the tuition, of course, an agreement that carries on to this day. So that's not in the plan, but then there was no way to anticipate in the development of the plan that the two towns would vote differently and that the district would have been 22. So I suppose it is a question for whether or not we should be allowing Mariahville kids to go to that school or not. I mean, it seems to me like the best case here is you to just talk to the attorneys and see what they have to say about that in the intervening time before we come back to this. But it also raises the question, if we are allowed to make that decision for Mariahville, then it seems we might also have the authority to do it for Franklin Pre-K without having to go through the process of forming a committee and going through that long process over something that really is as simple as this. That it's not the same thing as adjusting the last time we did this was to adjust the cost sharing formula for additional local. That's a pretty big thing as opposed to what you can do with a handful of pre-K kids. But anyway, there's that discussion. Before I come back to you, Carl, I want to see if anybody over here has any questions. Questions, comments? Go ahead, Terry.
Michael, how many kids are we talking about, do you think?
Impacted by the pre-K question?
Yes.
I only have one request so far.
Without violating a kid's and parents' right to privacy, did this have anything to do with our Title IX policy decision?
It hasn't been communicated to me that way.
I'm sorry?
It hasn't been communicated to me that way, no.
Do we expect more kids will opt out of RSU24 because of our decision?
I have no way of knowing that, honestly.
I see.
Go ahead, Mercy.
Where it is only one student, and we tell them if they can't go this year, they're going to go next year in kindergarten, and will it jeopardize, because I know like we have so many spots, will it jeopardize that for them to not get a spot for next year?
No. It may not be at the school that they want, but we do have a K room at Cave Hill. If that makes sense. If they want Mountain View, I think that's full at the moment, but Cave Hill is not full of pre-K.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
No. Did the email say something different though? That the shop is going to AI? Yeah, we just said it's right. Yeah. Or maybe.
The request was for the island.
Right, okay.
Okay, and I gotta go back to Carla first, but I'm saying, now, remember, the motion and the second on the table is to table this, which effectively means we're gonna have plenty of opportunity for discussion of the motion as a whole, should we come back to it. So if there's any more discussion about whether or not we should table this, then let me have that, rather than discussing the issue itself. Carla, do you have anything?
No.
I just wonder, how will the kid be transported to MDI from Franklin?
They're responsible for their own transportation.
I see. And that the parents are okay with that? I presume they must be.
Yeah.
I just have one more thing.
Yeah.
It just seems to me like we have a lot of questions, so to me it would seem that it would be pertinent to discuss this at a later date so that we can get all of our questions sorted out.
All right, we will motion a second. I think we've had adequate discussion. All those in favor of tabling this? Oh, I'm sorry.
So my question wasn't answered. Will this jeopardize the child to go to MBI by us taking the time? That's what I'm saying. Like if this child, because like we have so many slots, and if we table this for next month, will this child not be able to get a spot?
On MDI?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's
sorry.
what
I don't
my
have
thought
knowledge
is.
of their program as far as numbers go. I certainly can go in and block a spot for us, so that he or she does have a spot at K-12 school. And will, not any problem.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling this until next month, please raise your hand. Opposed? Wait for Linda to get a count. No, I'm assuming it passes. Okay. Well, we just had a motion that was approved to table it, so if you want to pass that on, you can pass it on to Mike, and he can forward it to us for next month. I appreciate it, thank you. I didn't mean to sound that short, that sounded kind of short, I didn't mean that, I'm sorry. Okay, next, teacher renewals.
So this went to the Personnel Committee earlier this evening, and you will notice here that we have a list of teachers here. Some of them are going from probationary year 1 to probationary year 2, and then some are going from probationary year 2 to continuing contract. The names are on here as well as the schools that they're in this current year, and so I would put forward these names for your approval to move forward.
I make a motion that we accept the teacher renewal list as recommended by NACO.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? And I'll remind you that if you have anything to say about individual personalities, we can't do it here, so. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And new teacher nominations.
I do have one new teacher nomination, Addie Jaffrey, a pre-K teacher at the Peninsula School. Addie has graduated from the Maranatha Baptist University with a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education and a minor in special education. She's currently serving as a long-term sub in the pre-K classroom at Ella Lewis, yes. It didn't look right, thank you. During her studies, Jane gained experience coordinating summer programs, teaching math, and tutoring students in reading and social studies. She has developed skills working with students with multiple disabilities. She completed her student teaching at Trenton Elementary School, where her mentor described her as a dedicated, capable, and compassionate educator who is student-centered and collaborates seamlessly with colleagues. I recommend Addie Jeffrey for the pre-K teacher position at the Peninsula School.
I make a motion we accept the teacher nomination for Peninsula's pre-K position.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have a vigorous request from the back to be heard.
Abby is 345 ELA sub at
I correct. I actually went from her application. Regardless, thank you for the clarification. 345 sub, and she does come highly recommended from her current advisor, supervisor.
All right. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the superintendent's nomination? Opposed? Abstentions? Excellent. Next, committee reports. Ed programming, Katie.
I will try to keep this shorter than I usually do because I get really excited and then I talk a lot. So we had a few different things on the agenda, and again, they were all super exciting. We had a presentation about the Play Lab, which I think I've discussed before, as far as we are trying to get back to play-based learning, and that's been an initiative that's gone pre-K through second grade throughout the district. And we had a presentation by our first grade teacher at Mountain View. Right? And she was just talking about creating a meaningful environment for both teacher and student, and just how it has renewed her love for teaching. And she showed us some pretty cool things that she's been able to do, like the sand table that she's constructed out of, it's like a Franken sand table. And that was super cool. And we were talking about how playful learning reinforces creative thinking, problem solving, and we had a discussion on expanding this approach into more grade levels. And she also talked about this really cool thing she's doing for first grade called a business market, which we were told will be May 27th, 1 to 2 p.m. For anybody that was interested, she invited board members. And then we had another presentation about our 7th graders from Sarah and Katie about kids and community and its project-based learning. They talked about community service, sharing knowledge, projects that they've done. The projects were very interesting. One of them was hands-on experience at a farm, harvesting tomatoes and I think microgreens. And the other thing that they were doing was a green crab project where they met with wardens, they measured the green crab population, and then they came up with some different recipes and such to cook them, which I did not know was a thing. And we were told that they were really good, so don't make that face over there. And they actually invited us to attend, but they also said if we attend their next meeting that we will be enrolled in cooking. So, and they would share the date with that as soon as they had it, which we did not have at that time. And they were talking about how these projects connect ELA, science, math, and social studies to group projects, and how the students are doing presentations to community members to show off what they're learning. So it's a really cool initiative, and they're doing some presentations June 4th at the Scudder Institute in the morning. And then we had another little field trip down to the geometry lab to have a look at a course we approved last year, and it was really amazing the things that these students were able to create, and very impressive. I don't think that I could do half of what they were doing unless I had a very gifted teacher like they do. So that was exciting. And then we had a very short discussion on technology in the classroom that we plan to talk about again at a future ed programming, and how that we have cut it down to about 20 to 30 minutes in 5th grade and under, and the most that any student is on a screen would be about 70 minutes. Was that middle school, and it was per week, I believe, or a day? It was a day, okay. So we would like to have future discussions about the implications of technology in our classrooms and how to best utilize that tool. And then we adjourned at 6:30 that evening, and that's it.
Thank you very much, Katie. All right, personnel, our next meeting, and sadly, this is going to be a little bit longer than a normal first off for the update, because we have some stuff that needs to be approved by the board. We met this afternoon, approved the minutes. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I have, how do you call this? Oh, they're all, okay. Here. All right, so everybody has copies of these. First item on the agenda, a discussion of the administrator evaluation process by administrator, primarily referring to building administrators, principals, and a discussion about whether there was a method in place by which staff and faculty at those schools could provide input both to the principal, so that they would have constructive criticism, if we want to call it that, and also to Mr. Eastman in developing his evaluation. Mr. Eastman is going to discuss this with the leadership team, and is going to involve some, probably some tweaking of the professional growth, professional evaluation, PGPE tool that we use for administrators, and that can likely be done by the committee that needs to review those tools annually anyway. So this will be coming back to the board, I expect, in some shape or form. Chris updated us on family medical leave, which we've talked about before. The abridged version is the state law went into place May 1st, went live, as Chris said, on May 1st. We have had, did she say we've had 3 claims so far, is that correct? 3 claims. The maximum weekly benefit for that is $1,198.84, although the actual benefit will be determined by Guardian, which is the company that's running this program for us, for many people, not just us. Claims will be handled directly by Guardian, not the state, and Guardian, I'm just reading through my notes. Guardian maintains contact with the district for verification on that, but anyway, that's the update on FML. Teacher renewals, we went over those prior to bringing into the board. Chris, in her ongoing effort to look for further ways that we can recruit, attract, and retain quality personnel in every position in our district, discovered that our van drivers and bus monitors, a position, by the way, which is particularly difficult to fill, had no real benefits because of the amount of time that they work. And so she proposed that we provide them with holiday pay for the holidays that take place during the school year, and which would amount to about $912 per employee. I know I just saw that number. $912 per employee, and it was 8.5 employees, that's correct, right? The committee approved that, so I will move for the board that we approve holiday pay for van drivers and bus monitors. Incidentally, this figure is in the budget already.
Second.
Any further discussion on this item? Anybody? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And then we have a series of job descriptions. These are what you have in front of you that were on the agenda. So, you can see the first one is the job description for sports coach, which you will notice by the amount of addition in yellow on page 2 that this was a pretty sparse document prior to our athletic director, Tyler Pye, making some changes. The proposed change that we have for this over the document that Ty proposed was to remove the words "for Sumner Memorial High School" from the opening line, because we felt that this job description should apply to middle school coaches as well as high school coaches. Secondly, in the second paragraph, as a result of that, we thought we should remove high school and just put "coaches play a vital role in the educational mission of the school district." And then in line 2 of that paragraph, you'll see that we inserted we inserted the word athletic between student and development, because after all, we're talking about coaches, and there didn't seem to be any real mention of athletics being the primary role of this. So we felt that it would be important to insert that. So for those of you who don't have this, that line says, that paragraph will now read, coaches play a vital role in the educational mission of the school district. Coaches are expected to promote student athletic development, sportsmanship, and academic success while providing a safe and positive athletic experience for all participants. That's added language. In section 2, you can see all the added language, and I'll just read the headings for those and not everything, but character and leadership development, athlete development, program organization, compliance and policies, student safety and well-being, communication, professional responsibilities, and then the last paragraph of the job description that, or the changes that he has requested. All athletic coaches are expected to uphold the mission and values of the school district while serving as positive role models for athletes. Coaches represent the school and community and are expected to maintain the highest standards of professionalism and integrity. So, I will move that we approve the changes to the sports coach job description.
Seconded.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Go ahead, Terry.
I know that this document in the sports coach job description doesn't require the coaches to follow the Maine Human Rights Act. In fact, if it's going to uphold the RSU Regional School Unit 24 policies, we require them to violate the Maine Human Rights Act. I just note that for the record. That's what we're asking them to do with integrity. I don't quite see how we can avoid putting coaches in a difficult situation when we're asking them to create a positive athletic experience for all participants. We don't actually mean that, do we?
Any other comments, questions? All those in favor of approving this job description? All those opposed? Motion carries, position is approved. The next two job descriptions I'm going to take as a lump. The first is a food service manager 1. The second is a food service specialist 2. Obviously, the job descriptions are different, but there is some overlap. The additions to both of these are a bullet point reading ability to work cooperatively and maintain positive, respectful. You know, I'm not going to read. You have it in front of you. You can read it. So the places in red, that's the addition. There's one line there. There's one line under computer skills that's added. Relatively minor changes to, well, not relatively, they're minor changes to both of those. So with that, I move that we approve the changes to the job descriptions for food service specialist and food service manager.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on these? Yes?
I just had a quick question of why we made the changes.
They go through, we try to keep our job descriptions as up to date as possible. They go through Janet Jordan and Melinda Hallam in this case, and they felt like those changes were needed to update the position.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Last one, last job description, this is a new job description. The position exists, but there is no job description existing for that. So, what was that? Yeah, the reason is because it is going to be coming back to committee next month. We did not, we voted to, let's have a chance for the committee to digest this, and it will come back to committee next month. Again, it is taking a position that's existed for quite some time and just, laying out what the description of what the job entails so that we're where we ought to be on that. The next item on the agenda was the hiring update. And I'll skim through this since it's so nice and short. For those of you that don't remember, 2 years ago, we were routinely having 20 to 25% turnover in primarily teaching positions across the district. This year, these are our current openings. We have a program, an EdTech 3 position in adult ed with a hire pending. We have an administrative assistant in adult ed who, Kara Ibargwin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is the hire. We still have an open position for an administrative assistant in special education. We have an afternoon bus monitor position open. See, told you they were tough hires. Now, this is where it actually gets interesting. In Cave Hill, we have a grade 1 teacher position open with 10 applicants. We have a Mountain View 5th grade position open with 5 applicants. Peninsula Pre-K and Adelaide Jaffrey has been hired or will be hired for that position. Peninsula and Ella Lewis PBIS teacher, 1 applicant for that position. Sumner Middle School music and band teacher, 5 applicants. Sumner Middle Science teacher, 1 applicant. Sumner Middle Social Studies, 10 applicants. Sumner Middle EdTech 3, 0 applicants. Sumner High music teacher, 0 applicants. That's a brand new opening. It's possible that some of the 5 applicants that applied for the middle school position may also apply for the high school. We're crossing our fingers because music teachers very tough to find. Special ed teacher at Sumner High with 0 applicants, and a health teacher for the middle school and high school with 1 applicant. So in comparison to a couple of years ago, this is a tremendous improvement from our perspective in the number of positions that we need to replace at this point. Considerable improvement. And that is the last thing that we dealt with. So there, I can stop talking about that. Okay, so that's personnel. Wow, look at that. Board review of meeting. Where do we want to start? Carla, let's start on here.
Thank you all for coming today, and thank you for all the updates regarding personnel and programming, and thank you all for your hard work on the board. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to thank the Prospect Harbor Methodist Church for their donation for the Peninsula Fresh Food Program. And I wanted to thank Shelley for the curriculum update that we all got to see. It's beautiful, and I think it illustrated some of what we talked about in ed programming, so appreciate that. And I also just wanted to, even though Melinda's not here, give her a shout out for all of the help through all of the budget season, for me specifically, because I feel like I pestered her all the time. And I believe that's it for me.
I don't know that I really have anything right now, so.
I think everything's already been said. Thank you to those who attended. I'm good.
For those of you who missed it, there was an event on May 1st, an open mic, where it was for the Honor Society donation to something called Sarah House, which functions in the Bangor area for cancer support for patients. It was a wonderful event. I wish more of us had attended. And The other thing I wanted to say is that this curriculum update just touches on such things as the sand table project, which was absolutely, anybody who can get to that teacher, I can't remember what her name was, but she created an illusion of a topography. I still don't know quite how she did it, but she spent $40 on something that should have cost $10,000. Woman is a genius. There is enough money in any budget to pay that woman what she's actually worth. The other thing was the geometry thing with imagery that Marielle put together with these students. Again, it's on display. I hope it's still out upstairs in this building. It is remarkable what kids can do to illustrate mathematical principles of symmetry and so on and so forth. It's just really worth looking at, particularly the stuff they did cutting out in 3D. Again, I can't quite figure out how they did it, but you should see what children, and these aren't little kids so much, but what they're capable of doing given proper motivation and assistance. It was really beautiful.
Thank you, Terry. All right, future meetings. They're all on the back. They'll also be on the website. I would accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? I think I'm gonna have to. All right, we're adjourned. Oh, opposed, sorry. All right, Terry. We're adjourned. Have a good night.